Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory Online Summit. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia, and we are now on day 8 of our online summit, and we have an interesting lineup of speakers for you today. Thank you to the amazing women who came up with this beautiful song that they are sharing around the world in protest of the war in Ukraine. So I'm going to start off the day with sharing their video, and hopefully you will get to sing this song and share it in your own community. Before I do share that, remember we are always looking for speakers. If you are a woman with a story to share, please come onto our platform and share your story. Wonderful. So this is our opening song.
Continue. This is a call to all our sisters, the women of the world, to take part in the creation of a new video clip. War is not a woman's game. For too many years, we have been collaborating with the patriarchal narrative, believing that armies and bombs keep us safe. For too long, we have been stripped of our liberty by the story of separation. This is not our language. It is not our way. War is not a woman's game. It is time for the givers of life to protect it. Women of Ukraine, you are not alone. Women of Russia, you are not alone. Women of Palestine, you are not alone. Women of Syria, you are not alone. Women of Israel, USA, Africa, India, Asia, Europe, Australia, North America, South America, North Korea, South Korea, China, Tibet, Afghanistan. You are not alone. Girls, young women, old women, witches, businesswomen, caretakers, fairies, mothers, grandmothers, great grandmothers, men, trans, fluid. Let's show the world we're here. Let us start with a song, with a statement, with a prayer. I invite you to take part in the creation of this international ceremonial video clip by sending me videos of you singing this song, celebrating femininity, stepping into your power. If you feel this calling inside you, please write it here in the comments, and we'll send you more instructions. Because what? War is not a woman's game. And then we start to sing it. Come on. Yeah.
That was a beautiful song in protest of the war. I think when women start stepping up and saying no to what is going on in the world, we can bring about change. One of the things I love about what these women are doing is they are really waking us all up to the fact that we have the power. We can make a difference if we really want to make a difference in the world. So, what are you going to do about it? What am I going to do about it to bring about change in our world? So, thank you so much for sharing that amazing song. I can see somebody chiming in on LinkedIn. Israel, thank you so much for being here, tuning in, and listening to our lineup of speakers today. So, we're going to launch into the first speaker for the day. Her name is Dr. Sarah Allen, and she's going to share her story with you. We, as usual, have got an amazing lineup of speakers every single day. So here we go.
Allen. I am in the United States.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the HerStory TV and the HerStory podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. And I'm graced with the presence of yet another amazing, phenomenal woman coming to us from the United States. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Sure. So I'm Dr. Sarah Allen. I am in the United States, in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. And I'm 38 years old, and I'm a pediatric neuropsychologist.
Wonderful. So where does your story begin?
What a great question. So, I think I've looked a lot at this with the pandemic hitting and just really having time to sit back and look at your own story. It's given me a lot of time to consider that. So my story really begins years and years ago on my journey to having kids. I lost 3 children on my way to having my own children. They each lived about an hour. I was blessed with 2 beautiful children. Now there was good times, but there were also really difficult times and times that, I needed to cope and figure out where my life was going. When you feel like your life is going in this direction, and then it takes a quick turn once, and then again, a second and a third time, it can really, really shake you up. And so that was kind of the beginning of my journey. And then my mother battled cancer twice. And then my sister, more recently in 2018, died of breast cancer at the age of 29. And shortly after that, I got divorced and I moved and just really realized how much the world can shake you up. And I'm a neuropsychologist who studied the brain for over 15 years. And I really had to lean back on that experience, that professional experience, and combine that with my personal experience to really get through some of those times. And then when the pandemic hit and everything shut down, we were stuck with this time. And I realized that after all of that stuff that had happened, I never really processed anything. I just kept moving. Even though my whole job as a clinical psychologist and as a neuropsychologist is processing and is helping people through things, I didn't do it myself. I just didn't have the space or the chance. It was just one thing after another. And so when the pandemic hit, it gave me this time to sit back. My work is mostly in schools, consulting for kids in schools. And so that had shut down. So really it was just me and my children. And I needed to process that stuff. And I realized that processing is a process and you have to work through that. And I didn't have as many of those processes as I wanted to. And once I found them, I realized I don't have them as much to give to my children. And so over the course of time, what I realized is I needed a plan. My kids needed their mom back. And I really needed to find a way to help other families, because other families were coming to me as well, develop a plan for raising their kids. And by the end of the pandemic, I'd written a book called Raising Brains and developed a course for parents called a Little Brain Master Parenting course. And it's really designed to help parents do what I needed to do, which is find yourself as an individual, find yourself as a parent, and find your kids as individuals, and combine all of that to have this plan for raising your kids.
Wow. You seem to have lived many, many, many lifetimes in a very short space of time, having to deal with these multiple major traumatic events in your life. And you know what's interesting about the time we're in right now? I feel like this pandemic has helped all of us pause. We're being forced to really face what's happening in your life at this moment in time. And it's an opportunity for people to almost reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
So if you were to go back to that younger you a year ago, this woman was just on the go, 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 constantly moving and not processing, and you could have a conversation with the younger self, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give her?
Oh, you know, this is such an interesting question, because some of it I feel like I couldn't have heard at that moment. But whenever I think about myself in the past, you know, I want to tell her to slow down and to just experience what's going on around her. And I feel like I'm in that spot for the first time in my life, where I'm just now able to really experience and be kind of stable in where I am. And so the first thing I would say would be, it's okay, slow down and just allow kind of some things to happen. I think that that's really important. And although I'm not sure I would have been able to process it at the time, with that slowing down comes the ability to process, and comes the ability to really allow yourself to understand what's happening with you and work through it. You know, I didn't realize how much I had been through, like you said, multiple lives almost, until I started writing my book. And then when I wrote it all down on the page, I looked at that and thought, oh my gosh, that looks like a lot of stuff. But, you know, when you're going through it, you're just going through it. You know, you're just getting through it.
And you're just
And
process
yeah,
it.
exactly. And so I think, and then the third thing would be, what I realized over time is having good friends around you and good people around you, not just personally, but professionally. Kind of networking, building yourself up is really a nice place to be, because the more you're talking about what is exciting to you and what you're passionate about, and you're involved with other people's passions, and you're really looking to do good and to be good, wonderful things kind of happen from that. And even if you go through tough times, what I learned through all those tough times is having the good people around me. You know, it's not quantity, it's the quality of those people. We banded, you know, together so much, and I feel so fulfilled in those relationships in my life. And so, you know, making those relationships would be really important. So slowing down, processing, you know, and maintaining and building those relationships really solidly would probably be my 3 things.
That's wonderful. Now you've come out on the other side and you've developed several products. Let's talk about the book, and then let's talk about your coaching, your mentoring, how you're helping other families deal with situations right now. What can a parent expect from the series of books that you've put out?
So the book is called Raising Brains, and it's a mindful meddling approach is the way I call it, because we're all going to meddle. We just need to do it mindfully. And we want to successfully raise connected kids, right? Kids that build those relationships I just talked about, kids that feel good about the relationships that they're in, they feel happy. And so, you know, it might be a little bit about redefining what success is, that success really is about connectedness and about doing what fuels you. But really what it is it's a program, it's a path, you know, it gives you a manual almost for raising your kids. You know, I often say, if I gave you 3 rules for raising your kids would break all 3 in the first day. So I can't give you this, and this, but I can give you a guide. And that's what it really should be. You know, it should be a guide for raising kids. we have to get a license to drive a car, and we have to jump through all these hoops to get your doctorate and these things. But you have a child and they just say, here you go, take this child and go raise it. And I remember when I went home with my daughter, I thought, oh my gosh, where's the manual? Somebody give me, and I'd studied the brain for 15 years, and I'm like, come on, give me the manual. And so, this is really meant to be a plan. And I encourage parents to make a parenting plan. And I describe methods for doing that in my book in hopes of helping them really find their own manual, create their own versions so that they can really mindfully meddle in their kids' lives and raise happy brains that are going to be successful and connected in the future.
I love that. Mindful meddling. I will never forget that phrase again. Yeah, because sometimes we do meddle, but very unconsciously.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you do it deliberately and with the right intention, I think as parents, we'll probably do a better job in helping our children.
Right.
And now, what about the program that you've developed?
Yeah, so I have a Little Brain Master Parenting course, and it's the next extension from the book, because it's great to kind of see, oh, well, this is how you should do it. And I think there's really great tips in the book to kind of guide parents. But I don't know about you, but me as a mom, I need a dream team. I need help implementing all of those things. So this is the next level from that book. And it's really designed to do a couple things. One is help people understand what I'm talking about in the book and what the content is. And again, the next level, the explanations to a lot of what you'll read in the book in more detail and in a very practical, applied way. And then it also has coaching, weekly coaching sessions so that we can really help to apply that to everybody's specific setting. Which I love. So I love the application to it. And then the other piece that it does is connect you to a community of moms who are going through this same thing and who can really give you their best tips for how they applied this or for how they're raising their little brains. So we kind of have the community as well as that information piece to the course.
And I think with COVID right now, the need for community is so much bigger.
Yes.
We're all trying to do what we can do from wherever we are, but if we can have other people who are in our world, so to speak, the parenting world is yours right now. I'm lucky all my kids are grown up and they've left home, but it's pretty challenging right now.
Yes.
From home, doing it in isolation, not being able to connect to other people.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting. I actually call COVID one of the best teachable moments we can have. And I know that sounds weird, but from COVID, we've really learned what happens when you think your life is going in this way and it turns in this way. And that was my experience with other things. And so I often tell parents that use this as the teachable moment. Teach your kids how to get through these things and what to do about it. And look what's happened here. I mean, the world has opened up to us. I can talk about raising little brains to people all over the world instead of just in my area at a talk in person. I can help people all over the world with a virtual course. I mean, these are things we weren't doing as much prior to COVID. So we can't save our kids from everything that's going to happen to them. We know that, but we can use this as a teachable moment and use some of the information that I provide in the book about how to help with some coping skills and how to build your child's little brain and use the opportunity to build their brains. Not only do you have the opportunity of the experience, but you're home. And so you're there to do it. The world stopped a bit. And so, it's the best teachable moment we could actually have.
it sure is. So I'm going to take you now into your future.
Ooh, okay.
If time was an illusion, and the past, the present, the future could exist in the same timeline, and you can teleport into the past and go into the future. If you were to sit in your rocking chair at the age of 100 and you've got your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, based on how you have lived your life up to that point, what would you say to the older you?
Oh, what would I say to the older me? I love this question too, because I always say when I'm reading different people's work in my field or outside of my field, I always say, if we could start from where people in the field ended and then go, we'd be so much further ahead. We all have to get there ourselves, right? Like we all have to do that. So, I hope I would tell my older self that I tried to be as patient as I could, that I went through and learned a lot, and I tried to kind of be the best that I could be, as I got there. And I'm hoping that they would tell me, what a wonderful experience my life had been up to that point, by slowing down and really focusing on not just raising my kids' little brain, but raising my own brain and finding myself as an individual and as a woman in business and in, the clinical world, and all of that really has come together for me at my age now. And so I hope that that continues to grow, where I get comfortable in my own skin and in my ability to kind of express what's happened to me and help build other people up around me. So I hope when I'm up there, there's a big community of other women feeling really supported by me and supporting me back. And maybe it'll be a big party. I don't know. Hopefully we won't have COVID then. And so it'll be really fun.
That is awesome. Wow. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today and creating these tools that parents are really searching for right now in terms of helping their kids when they're at home. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. I told you we have some amazing ladies who are stepping forward, sharing their stories, sharing their knowledge. Come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing woman from a completely different part of the world. But have a fantastic day wherever you are right now. And thank you again, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah, for your nuggets of advice on parenting. A much needed topic right now with parents coping with kids at home and COVID. Now I'm joined by my beautiful friend, Andrea Brown. Lovely to see you, darling. How are you?
Oh my God, what a wonderful surprise.
So you are in the US. You're not in the UK at the moment?
I'm in the US at the moment. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I have just, I'm on a very new and different journey from the last time we spoke.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just awesome.
Since I spoke to you last, I think I was in Greece for the summer for a couple of months, and which was absolutely amazing. I had the opportunity to do 3 shows. I got to sing my little heart out. I got to work with some young people, all musicians and artists, upcoming artists, with my relatives. And it was quite inspiring because the one day that I was doing my big show, my niece was rehearsing for her show, and she was doing a show in the other part of the village. And my cousin was downstairs practicing for the bouzouki, which was awesome.
That is wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. And I am, and I'm very, very excited to share that I've now come to the United States and reunited with someone that I've been in and out, up and down with since 2008 in Dubai. And I just got engaged.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, the last time we spoke about a year ago, I got engaged to the other man. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. And now I am getting married.
Oh, fantastic. That is just awesome.
Next Sunday.
On Sunday. Oh, wow. Well, I could have been at your wedding. I've just come back from the US.
Oh my God.
There for 4 weeks. Yeah. I was in the United States for almost a month.
Where were you?
I went to Atlanta, Austin, Dallas, Minneapolis, Denver, San Diego, went back to Australia. Yeah, I just did a book tour. I was meeting with a few clients, so I could literally be at your wedding, but maybe next time.
Well, my Facebook page got hacked in the summer, so I had to change my Facebook page, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm so happy to be reconnected, and I believe that Janine Reagan Sinclair did a spot for you.
Yes.
And how did that go?
It hasn't happened yet.
Oh, it's going to happen. Okay.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, I'm
So
actually here. I'm sorry.
I said, so thank you for joining me this morning. It's really lovely to hang out with you and catch up with these stories as we go through the series of videos. I
Okay.
want to know more about what you're doing. So let me play the next video. And in the meantime, think about what you're going to share. I'm going to give you 15 minutes to give us an update of what you're up to in the
Okay.
United States.
When
Okay.
is that? How long is that going to take?
This will take about 20 minutes.
Okay.
The next
Let me
video
just
will be
double
about
check and see because I'm in the office. I'm here with the other lady, Perlucci, that I put forward to come on the show with you.
oh,
Okay,
neat.
so go on and do what you're doing, and I'll run and find out how long I have. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Awesome.
So
I
we're
love
going
you.
to move on to my next speaker. And this is an amazing woman who is an author. Her name is Jane Enright. And Jane is an ordinary person who survived extraordinary things. It's very likely that you are one of those people too. Every day we go through unexpected life events, and it depends on how you react, how you respond to what is coming at you that really matters. So I'm going to let Jane share her amazing story. I always feel so honored when I meet women who bounce back from adversity, who share their stories as a way to uplift, inspire another woman who might be going through a similar challenge. So, Jane, thank you so much for being here in spirit with us and sharing your story. I'm just going to line up your video and then we can hear from your nuggets of wisdom today.
I was hit in my life basically changed when my life was interrupted three times in the span of 12 months. Very, very quickly experienced sudden, rapid, unexpected change. And this was all before COVID hit our world. First was a personal injury I never expected. I was hit in the head with a volleyball, of all things, when I was sitting in the spectator stands. And I wish I could say it was an accidental thing. It was in one way. I was never intentionally hit by someone, but the person that hit me was angry. They were angry. It was an angry athlete who, just very suddenly did something he shouldn't do and slammed the ball into the stands. So you can imagine getting hit in the face, square in the face with a volleyball coming at you, several kilometers per hour, how violent that is when that happens. My hearing and speech were affected, and I really felt like Dory in Finding Nemo. I was just speech and memory and hearing problems. And just as I was coming out of that, again, my life was very, very suddenly interrupted when my partner at the time, the man I was engaged to, had his own catastrophic injury, and he awoke from a semi-coma, not remembering who I was. But literally not remembering who he was and his life as a very successful business person. So when he awoke, he looked at me and he said, I can't remember who anyone is. Are you a nurse? I don't know who you are, but you're the nicest and the prettiest. This is a man that obviously I worked with and lived with and was engaged to, and just no memory of his life or our life together. So that was very, very sudden. And you think that would be enough. And after that, at the tail end of that, my girlfriend of my best friend, 40 years, my sister, really, I don't have a sister biologically, but she was really my sister, was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And she passed away very suddenly and tragically within 3 weeks. And she asked me to help her be with her at the end. So boy, did I get an awakening. As I said, to you before we started this interview, that makes one think and rethink their whole entire life. Very, very quickly, I learned, even before this global pandemic, that sudden rapid change can occur anytime. And many of us go through these types of things in our life. We may have a personal injury, we may have a loss of some kind, we may have a friend or a partner. You know, we've all lost people during COVID, but I was learning about this very, very quickly and suddenly. And I just had to rethink my whole life, my career, you know, my lifestyle, how I was going to live, how was I going to support myself, how was I going to start over after being very, very successful, having a very, very successful business of my own as an entrepreneur, and how was everybody else around me going to cope, because here I was advocating for people that I loved. So in a nutshell, I decided to take that knowledge, and instead of sort of being the victim, you know, of choosing to be the victim, I made an active choice to take my feelings and my thoughts about what had happened and my experiences and say to myself, you know what, this has happened and it's been very painful and very tragic in many ways. I've lost a lot of key things in my life, but I know I have strength and skills that other people don't have, because I saw that in the hospitals. I spent over 100 days in a Canadian hospital advocating for not only myself, but other people. And I saw, you know, very, very firsthandly that, you know, a lot of people don't have someone to advocate for them. They don't know how to get through crisis. They don't know how to cope. And so I decided to write a book and create a brand called My Super Awesome Life. And because I really, truly believe that no matter what happens to us, we all deserve the opportunity to not only have a fresh start and a clean slate in our lives, but create new beginnings. But sometimes it's very difficult to do that, especially when you've been through loss, especially when you've been through trauma. The very first thing I did was I accepted very quickly that this had happened to me. And I didn't always do it willingly. And acceptance isn't about being happy or artificially happy all the time. It's basically, acceptance keeps you out of denial. It keeps you out of resisting what's happening to you. It keeps you out of spinning your wheels and saying, what am I going to do next? It gets your brain kind of focused on basically not only managing your crises, but problem solving and making choices that are good for you rather than getting stuck in what's happened. What I like to say is your past is just a chapter, not the whole book. Stuff with 4 letters ending in a T happens to all of us, but it's how you respond to that change rather than react to it. For example, never on such a global scale have we all experienced such sudden rapid change as we have with COVID. COVID is unplanned change on steroids. It's change that can change its mind anytime. It's caused us collectively as a global community to really, you know, pivot in many different directions. And that's what I experienced even before the COVID. I always say it was a dress rehearsal for this pandemic that's happening now. So what do you do when that happens? I mean, how do you cope? Loss and trauma do not necessarily mean that you need to label yourself the victim throughout this process. You can have hard, sad things happen to you, but it's really focusing on what you have versus what you don't have, and looking, what I say, outside in rather than inside out, taking a bigger picture approach that gets you through those tough times. For example, taking a little scan of your situation. Say you're going through a loss, say you have lost a loved one, telling yourself, you know what, we all know we're going to pass. We just don't know how much time we have. But having someone taken from you suddenly can be very traumatic and challenging. Looking at that situation from the outside in and saying, you know what, I accept that this has happened. I'm not happy about it. I never anticipated this was going to happen. But I do know that I'm still here and I need to take care of myself and make a choice to do that, so I can not only move forward, not backward, but also take care of those around me. So that's what I write about. I write about the power of positivity. I write about how acceptance and outside-in thinking can help you not only move forward instead of backward, but it can help you grow and strengthen and build resilience from very, very tough experiences in our lives. We're all tested. We all are asked at some point in our journey in life to bear things that we never thought we would have to bear. That's why we need the tools in the toolkit, like the outside thinking and acceptance, and also mindfulness and gratitude that help us focus on the present instead of the past. Mindfulness is really taking one day at a time. We spend a lot of time thinking about mindfulness and a lot of money, on meditation and yoga, those very, very positive things, and exercise and reading about how mindfulness can help us. But a lot of us really don't stop and think why we're doing it. Mindfulness and staying in the present can really help you help yourself in a more positive way and inspire you daily to say, what am I grateful for? What have I got today that I didn't have yesterday or that I will have tomorrow? Mindfulness keeps our thoughts out of sadness or depression about the past and helps us not think too far into the future, because most of the time we get stuck because we're fearful of what comes next. For example, losing a relationship can be very, very traumatic, a divorce or perhaps the loss of a loved one. What comes next is often the fear of, well, will I ever be happy again? Will I ever find a partner again? Those types of daily things, coupled with a pandemic such as COVID, are very, very stressful. So helping our minds move in a more positive direction with mindfulness can really help us. And it's been very scientifically proven. It's not just your loosey-goosey theory of being present. It's the actual science behind building resiliency, such as James Clear and Dr. Rick Hansen and others, and Robert Emmons, who studies gratitude at the University of California at Berkeley. Emergency preparedness for our mind is having a more positive mindset. When we choose to train our brains to think more positively and focus on what we have rather than what we don't have and look at the big picture, that helps us build resiliency. That helps us move forward. That helps us give the strength to say, you know what? I can do this. I can get through this, and I'm coping one day at a time best I can. It helps our minds think of the pathways that we need to take now and illuminate the journey. For example, what type of support systems do I need to move forward? Do I need to extend my friendships in a different direction? Do I need to reach out to the community that I live in and beyond, to find those groups that can help me, those guardian angels that I say? How do I stay connected when everyone's feeling so isolated? How can I use technology to my advantage? How can I use change to my advantage? And that's where gratitude really saves the day. I call it my OMG, outside and thinking mindfulness gratitude. I don't think I'm a rocket scientist. I'm just an ordinary person who survived some extraordinary things. But I'm just telling you about these from a firsthand situational perspective, and I'm showing you how I changed my life. Thinking about my life as a gift rather than a burden helped me say to myself, you know what? All of these things that have happened in my life, it's like I get to redo my life. I get to start from ground zero, and I get to turn the page. The past is just a chapter, not the whole book. I get to start brand new and fresh not only every day, but in different areas of my life with a new career. I get to focus on my health differently. I get to have more balance in my life. I get to choose what types of relationships. I don't know what the next 5 minutes is going to bring, but I do know how I control my time, how I spend my time, and what I think about are really how I can take back that power when we all feel powerless, when big, hard, sad change, unwanted change comes into our life. It's creating that happiness, those joyful moments, and saying, you know what? I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to spend the next few moments of my day or my life doing this, that, and the other, because this is what is important to me. So I learned by taking care of myself, I could therefore better take care of my family and move forward in a very, very positive direction. And it opened up a brand new, super awesome career for me. I never thought I would be an author. I never thought I would be sharing my story. I never thought I'd meet you. And I probably would not have met you or be having this experience if all those things hadn't happened. So that's basically me in a nutshell.
Wow. What a roller coaster ride you've been on.
Yes. Yes. Lots of
Absolutely
waves.
incredible. So what happened to your partner? Is he okay?
You know what? He is. He's wonderful. And things change. He made a remarkable recovery. His memory, he's recovered enough of a memory that he knows who I am. And he remembers some things. He doesn't always remember all the time. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is because I had my speech taken away from me. When I experienced my injury, my speech was taken away from me. I couldn't speak, and it was emotionally exhausting to do this in the hospital and tell the story. So I started to write it down. And one of the reasons I knew I was writing, Gertrude, and in my head, I kept saying, I got to write all this down because I'll never remember how to tell them what happened.
Oh my God.
And so that's how it started. And I, at the end of it, when all of this happened and my friend, so tragically passed, I knew all this had to have a sense of meaning. And so when people who have gone through tremendous tragedy in their life, I looked for this to have meaning. I said, what's my purpose? You talked about that in your TED Talk. What's my purpose? What am I supposed to do here? And I said, I have a strong desire and a keen desire to help others. I know I have skills that other people don't have, but I also know that I have the gift of communication, and that I know I can pass along my story in a lighthearted way, because I try and tell you my story in a lighthearted way, because there were some funny moments. I mean, when Clayton woke up, it wasn't just that he couldn't remember me, and I started to leaf through the iPhone, showing him pictures. Well, what about this? Here's where we live, and here's your kids, and here's my kids, and here's where we went on a trip to France. And he looked at me and he said, I live with you?
Oh, wow.
I sleep with you? I live there? Wow. I'm a lucky son of a bitch. So he set the tone for me,
Oh, that
so
is
as
so
we're talking,
beautiful.
he's downstairs in my house. We're not married. We never did get married, but we're still very close. And I don't want to give away all the details to protect his privacy. But we still have a super awesome relationship. He's downstairs barbecuing right now, and that's something he never would have been able to do had he not had the advocacy in the hospital to get him into the right program. So he's a miracle. I've had lots of miracles, and things that have happened to me happen to lots of people, lots of different ways. But I just had it all happen very, very suddenly.
All at once.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting shivers when I think about it. I don't really think about it. You know what? I really focus on what I've accomplished.
Yeah.
What I've accomplished. And I would say that to anyone. The one thing you asked me that, in a question, I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but I can tell you that I am a prime example that there can be happiness and joy after a lot of hard, sad things. Is everything perfect? No. And that's not what positivity is about. It's about taking a more optimistic attitude. And I think that's what COVID is. It's an opportunity for everyone around the world to sit back and say, what's important to me?
Yeah.
What's important to me? Because
it's really forced us to prioritize what's important as well.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So what would you say optimism means to you?
Optimism. Really, again, focusing on what you have rather than what you don't have, focusing on the bright spots in life, and also I believe we create happiness. We don't find it. I think there's a lot of people out there who say, when I get married, I will be happy. Or when I have children, I will be happy. Or when I get a new job, I will be happy. Or I will be happier. And perhaps that will be true. But being grateful and seeing your life as a gift, every moment we have is a gift. I mean, I could have died after that injury. Clayton could have died after that injury. And I witnessed my best childhood
Friends.
friend of 40
Yes.
years having a very untimely, not nice ending. I made it for her. She called me. She was on morphine and she didn't have the presence of mind she didn't remember time or space, but she definitely had all her faculties about me. And she had assistance to call me. I had left the hospital. I'd only been home an hour. And she phoned me and she said, "Do you know where I am?" I said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, you're in room 24, bed 1 at, X." I said, "I just left you." She said, "No." She said, "For God's sake," she said, "get back here." She said, "I might not last the night." So she used outside-in thinking. It was remarkable that she had the presence of mind to step outside of her emotionality about it and say to me, "Look, I need you. And this is what I need you to do. I need you to get back here. And this is what I need you to do." And so I did it. And you know what? It was terribly hard and sad and very painful to watch. I never watched anyone pass.
Mm.
And I mean, we all have elderly people in our lives that pass, but you're not supposed to watch your best friend.
No, that's really sad.
It is sad, but you know what? Gratitude got us through it for both of us. I was grateful.
Yeah, and to be able to be there with her at the end, that is a real gift.
It is a gift. And thank you for noticing that, because a lot of people, they never get past that. And how I would say is, it was the worst call I ever received in my life, but the best. The worst because, of course, who wants to be asked to come and who wants to have that happen in their life and have that experience? But how grateful am I that my best friend thought enough of me to have me by her side in her last moments.
And that was a real blessing. I lost my mom during COVID. I haven't even gone to see her grave. She died on the 23rd of April. And there's nothing like not being able to be there at the end of someone you care for's life.
Yes.
So I keep saying to people, with the situation the world is in, we have to be grateful for every moment, because you just don't know when the last moment is going to be.
No, you don't. And you know what? I'm very sorry for your loss, because I think, like others globally, our rituals too of saying goodbye have been interrupted. Right? I mean, we all have things. I mean, in Canada, we would go to a place of worship, or we would go to a hospice, or we would gather for a goodbye party. I mean, that's what we did for Jen. It was a very celebratory occasion because that's what she wanted, and it made us. That's the type of person she was. But with COVID, all our routines and rituals have just been thrown out. Thrown out. Everything that we know was like me, everything that I knew was totally thrown out the window. All my routines, all my rituals, all my support systems. I mean, to lose your partner and your best friend at the same time and lose your career, that's snatched away. So I'm not saying that. So, I mean, and a lot of other people go through extremely, extremely traumatic things. So that's why it's so important for us to stay connected. And that's why I talk about in Butter Side Up, and my other book that's coming out in the fall, Jane's Jam, the companion book, is how do we move forward with that? What strategies can we use in the toolkit? Because just as we put the food and the water away for those emergency moments, like a physical disaster, like an earthquake or pandemic or whatever, optimistic thinking is emergency preparedness for our mind. It helps us get through those tough times and respond rather than react.
Yes.
It helps build that strength and resiliency when you're pushed to those limits. You're pushed, like I'm sure when your mother passed and you were far away, and it pushes you and it says, why can't I be there? This isn't fair. This isn't right. But then you turn to your child, or you turn to your loved one with you, or you turn to your friend, or whoever you are, and you say, you know what? I don't have that,
But I do have this.
But I have this, and I can connect virtually. And I know when things get better, I'm going to go back and say goodbye the way I wanted to.
In fact, you're so right, because what pulled me through is that my daughter got pregnant. So I became a grandmother last year.
Wonderful.
My little grandson has a way of just bringing me to the present moment.
Yes.
The minute I held this baby in my hands, everything melted away. Nothing mattered. It was me and him. And I was actually saying to my daughter, if he ever has to write an essay at school on what his life purpose was, he can say, my mission in life was to go to planet Earth to mend my grandmother's broken heart.
Yes.
And that's exactly what he did for me. He has just filled every hole in my heart, has been infused with the love of this child.
I feel it. I'm miles away, but you know what? I believe spiritually, and I don't mean, again, in a woo-woo, we're all made up of energy. We all have energy. That's what I believe. I believe in higher power. I don't know who they are. Is it a committee? I don't know. I think one person couldn't possibly help everything, but I do believe we have angels. And I do believe things happen for a reason. And that's where I had to find my faith. And some days it was just, you know what? I don't know what the next 5 minutes is going to bring, but I know I have faith that everything's going to be okay. And if you start having that perspective like you did about your little grandson, and about things that save you in a way that you can't explain, sometimes things have to leave so other things can come in.
That is so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
Now, if I could take you back to that moment of crisis, let's go back to your own health crisis.
Mm-hmm.
If there's somebody who's lying in a hospital bed right now, they've been knocked back, they have no idea what's going on, what 3 nuggets of wisdom can you give them based on what you've learned with this experience?
Oh my gosh, great question. I think, first of all, everyone needs an advocate. And if you don't have somebody in your personal circle, like a trusted friend, first of all, you need somebody you can trust, right? Because not everybody can handle it. When hard, sad things happen, like death and dying or personal injury or divorce, oftentimes people are uncomfortable. It's not, they're uncomfortable with what's happening because maybe they're fearful that it might happen to them. And so sometimes they retreat and they don't often understand maybe how to comfort you. So if you have a trusted friend or family in your corner, for goodness sake, ask for help, but very clearly as you can, tell people what you need. For example, my friend Jen said, I need you here by my side. And even though she wasn't always conscious and alert like she was, she knew I was there. I held her hand, and that's what she wanted from me. If you don't have that, use the resources at hand in your community. Like if there's a social work team in a hospital, or the nurses or the physicians or the volunteers to help you find your voice again. And this is where, as a society, we need to take care of our most vulnerable populations. And this is why I believe it's so important. When we have people around us that are passing or going through loss, their gift to us is that we are now able to show kindness. And I think every man, woman, and child is now challenged during this pandemic to be kinder and gentler than they were before. So if you're in the hospital by yourself, first of all, advocate for yourself. Also, ensure your affairs are in order. We never like to think that these things are going to happen to us, but they can. So if, whatever country you're in, because I know you have a global audience, get your affairs in order in a sense that you can be at peace if something does happen. And never give up hope. Miracles happen every day. The fact that I'm still here and now I'm talking to you, it's a miracle. It really is, because I could have lost everything. I could have lost, the ability to speak altogether. Start practicing gratitude every day. Wake up in the morning and tell yourself, what am I grateful for today? Is it the sun outside? Is it the fact I'm still breathing? Is it the fact that I am actually in a hospital with people who are helping me? Is it the fact that I have a loved one that cares about me? Is it that I know I can get stronger every day? Go to bed each night and be thankful for what happened that day. Gratitude begets gratitude and good feelings. You'll notice a tremendous difference in your mental health when you do this, because I noticed that with the patients that I saw in the rehabilitation center. They had what's called a gratitude circle, and it was one day at a time. You know what? Even if it's you know what, God, I got through today. You know, whoever your spiritual leader is in your mind, whoever you're talking to, just say, you know what? I believe that things can get better. You have to believe and feel that you can move forward. And it usually works. It usually works. And if you're at the tail end, then you have to say to yourself, you know what? How do I want to leave? How do I want to leave? And do I want to be in the hospital? Some people don't.
And you can make that decision.
You can make that decision. And but I believe advocacy, gratitude, making sure that you can, if you can articulate that you're trying to get the resources at hand. And I would challenge all the healthcare leaders out there to rethink the systems, because not everybody can voice their opinion. You know, not everybody, I lost my voice for a while. I physically lost my voice. I knew, but I had the ability to write.
Yeah.
Right. That's not okay.
Okay. That was the beautiful Jane sharing her very, very tragic story, but very inspiring at the same time. She really reminds us what's important in life. So, Andrea, how are you, my dear?
Hello, my love. So nice to see you again. And to
It's
all the
lovely.
ladies that are here with us today, I hope that everybody has been inspired. I was extremely inspired and reminded of so many wonderful things and events in my life that has happened. And right before COVID, my father was very sick with cancer, and he died. And 13
I'm
months
going to
later,
exit the stage, and
oh,
because I'd
okay,
love to have you on camera sharing your story.
okay,
So just
all
again,
right,
introduce yourself, tell everybody where you are, and then
okay.
you have 15 minutes to share your story before I come in and we'll do a Q&A session.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, wherever you are in the world, or good afternoon or good evening. I am Andrea Brown. I am live from Fort Lauderdale, Florida today. I am normally in Liverpool, England, but today you find me here. Since I spoke to you last, a lot of things have happened, of course. I think this time last year, I got engaged to a gentleman who I thought that was it for my life. And then something happened and that changed. And now I'm in Florida, and I reunited with an old soulmate. And we now are engaged and going to be getting married on Sunday. So a lot of changes in my life and a lot of changes for all of us. I just wanted to, this lady that just spoke to us reminded me of so many wonderful, wonderful gifts. And the one thing that she shared, the last thing that she shared about her girlfriend who died and who asked her to come and help her, was so moving, because that happened to me right before COVID. I was taking care of my adopted parents in England, and they were very, very sick, and they got sick with COVID. And they went into the hospital, both of them, her 10 years older than him. He was 75, her 85. And the last time I spoke to him was at 3:00 in the afternoon. And I don't know if you people know, but I am an entertainer. I sing for a living. And I've been very grateful and very humbled, and I had to have the opportunity to travel the world with my voice. And that's how Gertrude and I met in Dubai many years ago. However, this gentleman was an entertainer, and he was giggling and laughing and telling jokes until the last minute.
My name is Dr.
And
Gloria Pope. I'm birth.
Okay, we're blurping back in and out.
Sorry
And
about
so
that.
that's okay.
Okay.
So he was giggling and laughing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and telling me jokes and telling me how his wife asked him if he could take her home from the hospital and he could go back. Well, very shortly after that, unfortunately, he did go. And then no sooner than that happened, my girlfriend called. They called me about my girlfriend, just like Jane just shared, that she was in the latter stages of her illness. And she was like 3 years younger than myself. So they called me, and I went and I sat with her, and it was the most beautiful experience. She was so happy to see me, and she thought that I had forgotten her. And I slept with her, and she was telling everybody the next day how I curled up like a little squirrel right behind her and slept, and that was the best night she had had in months and months. And we went on that journey for the next 50 days, and she died in our arms. And to be chosen to be that person, to be next to you, is such a beautiful gift. And some people aren't strong enough to handle these things, but when you're chosen like that, it's an absolute gift and a miracle, and it's beautiful. And you take from that many different things. However, as I was going back in my journey where my father died and then my baby brother was killed 35 years young, 13 months later, the dramatic change that had on me made me leave America. And I have not been back since until now. I come back to visit, but I would never come to live here. And now things are again changing. But my life journey is actually in this particular area. I am in recovery, and I'm just celebrating 38 years of being drug-free and 32 years of being sober. And I'm sure I've spoken about this before, but the universe and God and gratitude and whatever you choose to have as your higher power plays and tests us. And a couple of weeks ago, someone took me who thought they were helping me and offering me to take this legal marijuana vapor to help me sleep, and took me and sat me in this area where they had marijuana all around it. And it took me to a place that I would not want to ever go again. And the fear that came up inside of me created all of this energy that was not comfortable at all and put me in a very bad place. And why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because people, they say, we are recovering alcoholics and drug addicts, and recovering whatever substance or a food addiction or any addiction. We are never recovered, however people like to say that, because it can always take you back. So from my perspective and in my experience, I found that to be extremely overwhelming and very fearful. So I had to decline the offer to help me because it was far, far more dangerous than anything else. So I'm sharing this simply because a lot of people don't really understand addiction, and they don't understand the I don't know how to say it, the magnitude of what my addiction was like, or anybody's addiction. Everybody's bottom does not have to look the same. So I have been traveling the world singing and being an advocate for other addicts all over the world, wherever you go, talking about addiction, talking about recovery, and talking about all these things that are so important to help other people. And I never, ever do not talk about it or share it, because you never know who's suffering in silence. You never know who's sitting there living with a drug addict or an alcoholic or someone who's abused physically or emotionally, psychologically, and are trapped in a situation where they don't know that there's hope. And having back to the gratitude, the mindfulness, and staying in the present, all of those things apply to everything about what Jane was talking about earlier. And being positive, knowing and coming to a place in our lives where we are at peace through acceptance, forgiveness for others, and forgiveness for ourselves. So I think that for me, that is one of the strongest, the biggest tools or ways of finding our way, of having peace with ourselves and being happy with ourselves, not needing anyone else for our happiness, being happy in my own skin, knowing who I am, growing to love me for all the good, bad, and ugly and crazy stuff that I am, and embracing all those different sides of myself. And by sharing these things, we allow and we give other people permission to open their own journeys, their own lives, and removing themselves from themselves and becoming objective and looking themselves at from a different angle, so that they also can heal and grow. So I have been doing this forever, and I love it. And I'm very happy to talk to anyone and help anyone in any way, shape, or form. Gertrude knows me very well and knows that I'm very open and honest about my feelings, and I'm very open and honest with everyone. I have learned in this life that there is only one, you have one face, and this one face is what we have to bring to the world, to the people, to the universe, to whatever. But we have to be true to ourselves. And not everyone has the ability to do that. They're fearful of even looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, I love you. I'm grateful. I'm humble. And I told someone in the summertime when I was in Greece, I had the good fortune to be in Greece this summer for 2 months. I have calves and I have thighs and I have muscles in my legs and in my arms from running up and down the village in Skopelos, where they made the movie Mamma Mia. I have the good fortune of being born into a family of parents who come from that village, that island. And so it's very, very exciting when I have the opportunity to go. There are so many areas and topics that I would love to share on, but I just want to stick to recovery, addiction, and finding peace and loving yourself through acceptance, forgiveness for others, and forgiveness for ourselves. I think that that's really, really what I would like to focus on at this time, because what Jane shared was so profound and really brought a lot of things home for me and really reminded me of so many things that I've been through as well. And I'm grateful to be here today, once again, with you people. So Gertrude, I'm just going to say thank you very much again. I'm so happy to be here back with you again. I think this is our third session.
It is our third year. So let me ask you a few questions, Andrea, because you touched on so many pivotal and important points. What was the turning point for you to break your cycle of addiction?
I was dying. I had no choice. It was either that or I was very, very blessed that my cousin, Andrea, another Andrea, and her husband, who was my father's brother, married my mother's sister's daughter, who we were, I like to say in Greek, underwear and ass. That's how close we were. And they loved me more than I loved myself. And her attorney's wife happened to be a counselor for addiction. And they found a treatment program for me and took me there for an interview. I got in, but I had to earn a week of being sober and clean, which was impossible. However, I managed to go there and save my life. And as Andrea would say, and Uncle Johnny would always say, is that, of course, I did the work. And yes, I was very humbled and grateful, and I was very blessed to be under the umbrella of the treatment program for 27 months. I was there for 11 months. They threw me out. I went back, and my last shot was 2 grams of pure cocaine. I died for 14 seconds, and John Belushi had just recently died, and he was trying to come back through my spirit, and God said, get up, little princess, it's time for you to go let everybody know that I'm real. So that's what I've been doing for the last 38 years. And it was do or die. I didn't have a choice.
Well, you made a choice to live. Not many get to do that. You made a deliberate choice to live and to come back.
Absolutely.
And now you can
Yes.
share your story. The reason why I do these interviews is that there could be somebody who's listening to this interview right now, somebody who has a family member who's struggling. If I could take you back to the younger you, that young woman who was struggling with addiction, and you could give her 3 nuggets of wisdom, 3 pieces of advice, what would those be?
Oof. Well, I think something that Jane said before was having an advocate, having somebody that you really, really trust. And ask for help. Ask for help, because that first step of asking for help and accepting and knowing that you are completely powerless over your addiction, your behavior, your way of life, your circle of people, all of those things had to change. Everything has to change. And to come to that is such a fearful, such a big, big step. So I would say trust someone, have someone close to you that loves you more than you love yourself, and let them help you. Ask for help. Doing the work, that's not easy. That's very, very difficult. In my case, cocaine and crystal meth were my drug of choice, and I was so hyper that my drug counselor, who we're still friends today, said, can we give this girl to slow her down? He's the director pulled her in the corner and said, we don't give them drugs. That's why they're here, to get off drugs. So she said, if we knew about ADD and ADHD and bipolar, we could have helped you. I said, yes, give me more medication. So doing that work is not easy. However, the surrendering, the humility, getting knocked on your bum, man, getting your ass kicked from here to there and all over. And when you have to go into your guts and churn, it's not easy. And once again, I want to say, I know how painful it is that you lost your mother. I was here when all that happened for you. And the same thing has happened for me. How you found all of that in that little baby boy, I found in my nephew, my niece's son, who's 2.5. In April, when I came home, I christened that baby, and I found the same thing in that child. So that unconditional love, that beautiful innocence that just fills your heart, that is what helps you to be whole.
I love that. That is so true. And these little beings come into this world to save us, to help us see the world with a different lens. I can so see that in
Absolutely.
my grandson right now. That is absolutely beautiful. So, what does the future look like for you? You're going to be based in Florida?
Well, yes, but I'm still going to be going back and forth to the UK. I would never give up living abroad. I love my home there. My future husband and I will be sharing, going back and forth. He also has family in Spain, so we hopefully will be allowed to travel and keep our European connections alive. Um, I'm looking forward to this journey. It's quite exciting. It's different. Um, and hopefully you and I might get on our little journey now
Yes. Yeah,
at
because
long
we need to
last.
write this
Yes, I'm
book. We've been talking about it for a long time. I think
well,
this is,
go on.
I said, I think this is the time.
Well, I've been doing a lot of logging and writing recently in the last 6 months. Again,
Okay.
going back. And I think that's so important because, speaking of COVID, you know what happened to me. I fell and broke my shoulder. So I was also incapacitated for almost a year, and so many
Oh,
losses and so many things that happened. And now to get back into the world again is so lovely. And well, I'm just going to embrace this new journey. I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't really know what it looks like. I'm quite excited.
that's the exciting part about it, the uncertainty and just taking it one day at a time. A lot of times
Absolutely.
we try and jump too far into the future to try and figure out what's coming. And then we're not fully present to what you're just experiencing in that moment. So just
This
sitting
is
with
so
it,
important.
yeah, just enjoy the time and the journey that you're on right now. It sounds exciting that you'll have that ability to cross the oceans and keep your European connections going as well as being in the United States. Absolutely love that.
Well, I'm very, very excited. And my sister and a few of my family members are going to be coming because I'm from Pensacola, Florida, which is a 10-hour, 12-hour drive from here, but they're flying over. So I'll have a dozen of my family members that are going to be here with me to share this gorgeous moment for us. So I'm quite excited about that.
Oh, that is awesome. That is
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you so much for having me again. And I hope that someone out there heard something today, and that if you're suffering, do not suffer in silence. It is so important to reach out and just raise your hand and let somebody know, please help me. It's just too much to suffer in silence.
Yeah. And that's a difficult one for most people. Asking for help is not an easy thing.
Mm-hmm. I know.
A lot of us need the help, but we don't know how to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It's up to you if you really want to turn your life around at any
Well, it's
level.
absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? It doesn't mean, it doesn't, everybody is, it doesn't look like somebody dragging their feet in the ground and they're homeless and they're doing this. More people who are high level entrepreneurs or business people who are working and thriving and have a partner or a child or somebody who is suffering with their addiction, and they are clinging and clinging and clinging and dragging you down, and you're trying to keep this face up and being so wonderful and bright, and it's not healthy. And it really is more damaging than breaking loose. And
Mm,
I'm gonna leave you with this. Break loose, cut the chains of the bondage and all the struggles of other people's baggage, and damaging things that drag you down. It's not, it's so, so unkind. Jane touched on kindness, being loving, being in gratitude, the energy. I mean, you know that I work with energy. And that is one of, I think, probably one of the biggest gifts that I got from my out of body experience where I died and came back, is that I got the source of energy. And I suggest that we all be extremely sensitive to the other people's energy around us.
Yes. Yeah. Thank
I
you.
love you. I love you.
Love
I love you. I love you.
Yeah. Love you too. Take care. Wonderful to have had you with me this morning.
Thank you. My gosh. But
Keep in
and one more
touch.
thing before I go. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'll
I
stay
said,
in
keep in
touch.
touch. Let's write this book.
I will. Okay. Yes, please. I'm ready. Goodbye to
Oh,
everybody. Have a great
take
night.
care.
Great
Bye.
day. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, wow. Another wonderful friend, wonderful inspirational story from Andrea Brown. So let me see if I can line up my next video. Dr. Gloria Hope is going to come and share her story with us today. Another inspirational woman coming to us from the United States. Thank you so much for being a part of our tribe and sharing your story with us today. Oh, now the video won't play. Let's see what has gone wrong. I'll try that again. Technology is really challenging me this time. On some days, we do the summit and everything goes smoothly. On other days, there's all of these little hiccups. But I'm learning to pivot and to go with the flow of things when they go wrong. So here we go. We're going to try again.
Has evolved, especially in the last 4 years. Work that I'm doing today. So just a little. Vernon, New York. I'm currently 41 and almost 42 years old. My story is an amazing story to tell. I am back in a community where I was born, and I came home to do all the work that I'm doing today. So just a little bit about me and to kind of give you a build up to who Dr. Glow is and where this brand has evolved, especially in the last 4 years. So I was born here in Mount Vernon. I'm the oldest of 15 children, which is unheard of in this day and age to have that many siblings. But I grew up with my mom, mainly my dad. They had a divorce at 12 years old. So we know we have differences and things that happen within our communities where families separate. So I was an interesting teenager, always super smart, was a student athlete here in Mount Vernon, and I did well and I went off to school. So by the time I got to school, I realized that I always wanted to be an educator. And the reason why I think I really want to be an educator is because my sister and I, who we are only a year apart, we spent a lot of time educating our siblings and just taking charge. And then as the oldest, you realize for a fact that you're just meant to be a leader. So I went to school and I started working in the nonprofit world. By the time I was 19 years old, I was actually running my first GED/mentorship program in Philadelphia for Temple University. I enjoyed that so much that I stayed in that, and I started working for some other nonprofits within that space. We're doing a lot of mentoring and coaching to the youth within the community. So I stayed within that realm for a while. And then once I was pregnant with my son back in like 2005, I opted to move to Trenton, New Jersey. And when I moved to Trenton, I got a new job. I couldn't find what I was doing previously within the education realm of the GED instruction and things of that nature in adult ed. So then I moved over to early childhood, and that's when I found my passion. I started off as a teacher's assistant. in an infant toddler classroom, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I worked with this woman who we're still actually really friends now through social media. We speak all the time. And I realized that she's the first person who taught me the love of actually working with young children. Now, why I realized I love young children so much was because of the fact that you were able to mold your community and mold that child to be something special. Young people in between the ages of 0 and 5, that's where they get the meat of who they are as an individual. If you build out that person or that child, that young person, by the time they're 5 years old, you're setting them up for ultimate success throughout their life. And that's where I realized I was doing at that. So I started working in that space, and got promoted automatically over to a supervisor, and really started taking the leadership role. As much as I love working with people, I realized I don't like working for people. And that was something I realized very young for myself. So fast forward a couple of years, son started getting a little bit older. My daughters were getting a little bit older, and I realized that that wasn't a community I wanted to raise my children in. So I came back home. Back in 2007, I came back to Mount Vernon, New York, where I came. It was funny. I came back home and stacked up at my dad's house until we were able to afford to get our own place. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. We came back here, and then I went to the Dole Center. Actually, I called my sister, who was actually working in education, and I said to her, I was working in early childhood in Trenton. I really, really liked it. Where do you think I should go apply for a job? So she sent me to 2 places, and the one I liked the best is the one where I stayed for 14 years. I worked there, started there as a teacher, and then moved on to become an ed coordinator, and then I became the director of that program. Now, that program unfortunately lost some funding and lost a grant, so some transition. So that program unfortunately closed after 42 years of existence. And I had to move on to another program. Then I was able to transition to another program called Colin Island Child Development Center here in Mount Vernon, where I now work with other children, and I'm the executive director of that program. Through early childhood, I've realized that I have saved lives in so many different ways. And I'm proud of the work that I have created in my community, which has led to so many other things that I have done. Now, my business, Black Girl Everything, is where I support Black women-owned businesses, and I love what I do. But the base of that has everything to do with the fact that I, myself, am a Black girl who's capable of doing everything. So besides early childhood, I also worked as a tutor and actually did youth services as well for a while in some group homes. And I realized just how much kids were just not getting what they needed. So I went and I actually started tutoring and mentoring and became a life coach and started working with families directly on how to be more supportive to their children, and as well as kids being more supportive to themselves, and teaching them how to cope within schools and giving them the motivation to actually do better and access that level of intelligence that they just were not accessing currently. So I did that for a few years. And my first business was Unified Consulting Life. At that same time, I was finishing up my master's degree in education, and I had to do a project. And my thesis, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do my thesis? So I called a friend of mine who I knew had this nonprofit. And I was like, okay, you know what? This would be a great place for me to go, because the focus was on program structure and management. So I went over there, and the location is called Destination Tomorrow. I went in, I was just like, Sean, who's now still the CEO of this amazing nonprofit. And I said, Sean, I want to actually evaluate your program. So when I went in, he said, sure, come on in. I went into that space. Currently, the office for DT was just as big as my bathroom in my house. It was a small office. It was just getting started, grassroots, bootstrapping. This man was out here just really getting it in. And I evaluated the program, realized he had no education program. I wrote my paper, did well, and I called him one day, and I was like, thank you for that opportunity. But you know what? I got an opportunity for you. I realize your program doesn't have this program. I'm going to come and I'm going to volunteer, and I'm going to create it for you. Here I am now, 5 years later. I am the director of educational enrichment for Destination Tomorrow, which is also the Bronx LGBTQI Center, where I lead coursework in life skills, as well as job readiness, financial literacy, We're starting family services within the location. So the perk about working for DT is that I work directly with the queer community, especially the trans community with here in New York, where services for many years weren't really available for them. And I found through my research, as I've been working within that community, especially in education, that this community is so transient throughout the school districts that many of them couldn't survive within the space of the school that they're in, that they're dropped out. And they tend to drop out. 98% of my clients have dropped out in between the 11th and 12th grade. And you ask why? It's because they didn't feel they were safe enough in a space to get through. So now they come to this space where we help them get their high school diplomas, we help get them jobs, and we help them restructure themselves to be within a world that's going to help them overall and come back and give back to the youth and as well as people around them. We do amazing internship programs with our partner organizations. And now I'm just happy to be part of a team who's actually opened up their secondary office in Atlanta, Georgia. I love Atlanta, one of my secondary cities. So I'm excited to actually go down and visit and be down there and build the same type of programming in another environment where the services just aren't there for our youth and our adults within the queer community. So past that, as you see now that I love education so much, that I actually am an educator from birth all the way to adults. Some of my youngest client I have is 8 weeks old, comes into my program, and some of my oldest clients at DT can be well into their 60s. So with all of that, I just realized that education is definitely what I want to be and what I want to do. When I was working for my previous program, one day I was coming home from a director's meeting. It was very pre-COVID. It was just when COVID was in China and we didn't know too much was going on. And I was just like, okay, you know what? I really don't think I necessarily want to do this job forever. Because again, I said to you earlier, I've always known that I don't want to work for people. I always wanted to work for myself because I never wanted anyone to damper on what I was able to create for the world. And I know that I was able to create for the world. So I decided to start something new. And that's where Black Girl Everything LLC was born. Black Girl Everything was established because I have an amazing team of friends who are so talented in so many different ways. So I said that one meeting, I was like, I'm going to host this event where I'm going to have this giant expo and I'm going to have these vendors and people are going to have performers. I'm going to have all these great things. And I got the whole event up. I had 200 tickets sold in like 4 weeks. It was going to be the best thing that ever hit Mount Vernon, New York. And then COVID said no. So I had to redirect what I was going to do. And that's when I started mini expos and became a vlogger and started actually exposing these people. Because my goal was I was going to sit here and get people's businesses out here. I was meeting amazing women who had amazing skills, who wanted to do amazing things. So I wanted to make sure that they were being seen. And that's what I did. I started doing videos. And now just this week, I've recorded 122 since July of 2020. So I'm very proud of the accomplishments that I have made with Black Girl Everything. Black Girl Everything otherwise, we do great events. I do events quarterly. I do pop-ups where there are large-scale experiences within my community where small businesses come out and sell products. And then I do so much with BGE. And there's also the collective where I work directly with other businesses and we collaborate together to ensure that we are all making it out here because collaboration is definitely key. So through that experience and everything else like that, I realized that I was capable and I had purpose and that I am a powerful person within this space, within this world. So I want to take in and tap into everything that I have. So when I done my doctorate, my dissertation was on parent engagement in the urban community for children with a diagnosed disability. And I did that because my son has ADHD and it was an interesting road traveling with him and throughout his process, who is now 17 years old. And actually today we had an IEP meeting and say he doesn't need his IEP. I said, no, he's going to hold it because it's a powerful tool. So we changed some things because he's advanced, found out his IQ is in a superior level. Not shocked, but was a little shocked about that. But I love being a mother And so what I decided to do was to start another organization, which is a Daisy Dream Project. The Daisy Dream Project is my nonprofit where I'm going to be focusing on really rehabilitating the structure and the creativity of Black and Brown communities. It's going to have sensory gyms and spaces where children can't get access to them. It's going to have parent leadership courses, is going to be an engaging space which parents can come with their children, especially with children with differing abilities. I'm not going to use diagnosed disabilities. I'm going to say differing abilities, just because children have some limitations. They're matched even more with their strengths, and we want to be strength-based within this organization. We're just getting started, so I'm excited to, as it expands. One of the key things that we're going to be doing is we're focusing on preconception all the way through early adolescence, including building out these infant toddler. In New York, we have special education classrooms. And what we find for Black and Brown communities that our kids don't have access to these classrooms within their actual community. So they're bused minutes, 45 minutes to an hour. They're taking a 2-year-old on a bus to programming. So what the Daisy Dream Project is going to do is actually establish these classrooms within daycare centers, within communities that exist for them. Because I'm all about giving access to everything and everyone. So one of the last things I want to talk about, one of my greatest accomplishments I have had right now, I'm a published author, and I have written Hero, Memoirs of Infertility. So like I said, what the Daisy Dream Project is talking about from preconception all the way to early adolescence. So what Hero talks about is actually infertility and how women of color have struggled through infertility. My wife and I, we went through IVF to create our daughter, Lael, who is my rainbow baby from the heavens. She is amazing. And we're so happy to have her. But through that process, we had to experience, loss. We lost a son at 18 weeks, 5 days. And we realized that Black women are just not getting the care that they need. We see the stories over and over about how women of color are dying from childbirth. They're dying in hospitals on a consistent basis. So this book, what it does is it tells a story in 3 parts of my story, as well as a story of 9 other people from different perspectives. It gives a perspective of married couples. It shows marriages that end in divorce. It also shows people just really trying to live through in a transgender experience, a single experience. The stories within Heroes, Memoirs of Infertility are going to change lives because 48% of Black women experience infertility, and I needed everybody to know that. So basically, that's Dr. Glow. That's really my story. And I think it's honestly just the beginning of who I am and where I'm going and who I'm going to be. So I'm living in my passion every single day. And I'm just excited to be out here to express what I got going on and get support from community, because community matters. And the more that we work together, the better we all shall be.
Your story is fascinating. When I was reading your bio and the form that you filled out, I felt that I would have so many layers I had to. You're like an onion with layers and layers and layers to your life. So let me take you all the way back to the beginning, because you're a young woman who's been on quite a journey. How did you come to understanding what your own sexual orientation was? And why are you so passionate about supporting this community? Why is it important for people to understand?
Well, for me, what I realized that I always knew that I was different. I've always was attracted to girls when I was younger. And I was part of the era where being open about that was starting to change. So I was in high school in the 90s. It wasn't as taboo, but still was very taboo. By the time I got to college and I was in that safe space to be whoever I want to be, because one of the benefits of college is you get to reinvent yourself, especially if you go away to school. I went away 2 hours away to Philadelphia. Nobody really knew me there. So I was able to actually, I can do this. I could sit here and date who I want, be with who I want. And then I'm a leader. So ultimately, nobody was going to tell me what I couldn't be or who I couldn't be. So for me, working with the queer community is so important because I love to empower them that they can be this strong. And then to see also that you can be successful. We don't have to, a lot of, unfortunately, people are thrown from their homes. They don't have anything. They're running away. They come to places like New York where they're living with other people of the queer community who come on as their mother and their father and support and take care of them, especially we talk of things of the ballroom scene. So I wanted to make sure I was in a space where I can show that, yes, I am queer. Yes, I am me. But yes, I am also very successful. And that's why I stand within that space the way that I do, because I wanted people to see that you can be somebody, and I love empowering them to get them to the next level. So standing in my truth was one of the best things that I ever did for me, because I think it set me up to make all these decisions who have made me exactly who I am today.
So, Black Girl Everything
Mm-hmm.
is a personification of your work wrapped in one. Am I correct?
Yes, it is.
Delve into more detail what inspired you to do this. And if somebody's listening to us right now who's needing your kind of help, 3 nuggets of wisdom. What 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give them?
Mm-hmm. Well, Black Girl Everything, so it starts off with the fact that I was divorced before my first marriage, got married very young, and, went through a real traumatic experience. And after 12 years, I decided enough was enough, and I walked away from that situation. And then I was blessed in this world to cross paths with somebody who I knew from my childhood, who is now my wife. And we've been married now 5 years, been dating, been together for now 9. With her, I was also blessed with an amazing group of friends. I've never been in it. I've always had friends, but this group of women were so close, so intact. And I felt that I came within the space, and I became part of the team. And this team had so many talents. We had authors, there's social workers, there's event planners, there's nurses, everybody just has this level of talent. So one of my friends, Vanessa Moore, was this great author, and she just wanted to fly under the radar. And I was like, no, you're not going to fly under the radar. So that's what's really started Black Girl Everything. I honestly just wanted to build a space where I can promote Black women who were doing amazing things out here in the world. And that's how it really started. And I was on the phone with my cousin, who also does great stuff. And I was just like, yo, I'm going to do this event. She's like, I'm coming from Atlanta. I'm going to be there. And then I started sharing with other people, all other friends around me. And everybody's like, this is so dope. This is so amazing. And it just came at the right time, because we noticed during the pandemic that we were all so quiet and also still, that we was able to really see what was going on around us, and creativity kicked in, because, Black women are the center of the universe. So we create all the time. But with that free time, we were able to really see what our real purpose was in the world. So businesses were popping up everywhere all the time. So I just wanted to talk about them. And that's where Black Girl Everything came from. In regards to nuggets for people, all I'm going to sit here and say, sometimes sit quiet. Sit quiet, because the universe is ready to give you everything you want. All you have to do is ask for it. And when the universe tells you after you ask, all you have to do is move on it. And then after you move on it, all you have to do is let yourself shine. Because the universe is promised to everybody for us to be our best selves. And your best selves is just living within your purpose and living for everyone, all at the same time, and sharing everything that you know, because you're going to be great, because you were meant to be great.
You are literally singing my song today. You have no idea how sweet it sounds to hear you express in this way. As women of color, we sometimes are held back by our own perception of our abilities and what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that you have emphasized is community and the importance of community. And I'm a community builder. I believe that alone you can only go so far, but with a collective of other women, you can go even further.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you galvanized your community? How do you keep them connected and together?
The collective. So one of the first things that Black Girl Everything created was the collective. And the collective is, and people say, well, how do I become part of like the basic collective? Is honestly, once you have a conversation with me, you are automatically part of the collective. And you become an asset to me and everyone else around me, or anyone else who I've engaged with at some point in time, because community is important. And people who are growing businesses, and the key thing that we all have to know, that your net worth is determined by your network. So if you don't have the network, you're not going to get the net worth. So you have to work and collaborate with others to move forward. That's why collaboration is key. This is why I do these interviews. This is why I interview with other people, because I want to keep building on my network and building on opportunity, so I can bring these opportunities back to every single individual that I work with and give them the opportunities to grow within their organizations. So, being part of a community is key. You have to work together. And with Black Girl Everything, keeping everybody connected is one of the main reasons why I host a lot of my events. So I do these pop-ups quarterly, right? But then I also do things where I do seminars on a monthly basis where people come and they just join in. If I don't see a particular vendor or business that I've worked with in the past pop up on social media, I pick them up. I pick up my phone on a random Tuesday and just call them and say, how are you? Are you okay? I haven't seen you on social media. I haven't seen you post about your business. I see that your website things haven't changed in a while. And I actually go back and just literally just check in. And sometimes I find people say that I'm lost, I'm stuck. And then we have a conversation to try to reignite their passion and their process. Or I link them with other people or other resources that they need to ignite and reignite their passion. So we have to hold each other accountable. We have to be there for each other, because calling somebody and saying, hey, you know what? I ran out of your body butter. What's going on? Are you still making it? Why not? Let's go. Let's get started. Well, how can I help? How can I be here to support you? And we can all move forward, because if we all move that way, everybody's going to flourish. Everyone will flourish. There's millions and billions of people in the world. There's no need to compete. Competition is never necessary, but collaboration is always necessary.
This is just wonderful to hear. A lot of times women are so busy competing against each other and not realizing that collaboration piece is our superpower, and we have the ability to do it intuitively and naturally. We've just been taught by society that there is a certain way of being, but the collective is everything. So if I could take you to that time when you were struggling with infertility, you're blessed that you managed to get your beautiful baby. But if there was a woman who is going through this right now, based on your experience and how the outcome of your life turned out, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give somebody else? What would you have wanted somebody to have said to you when you were struggling?
So tapping into those emotions. So tapping into those emotions within that time was very interesting. So I didn't carry. So my son, who was 17, I naturally had him, did not have any concerns. My wife, unfortunately, had a fibroid, which was causing her infertility issues, which forced us to go the route of IVF. IVF, when I was growing up, everybody thought that IVF was for the rich people, right? It's for rich people. Poor people don't do it. We can't afford it and everything else like that, because the reality is hardly you can't. New York State has established some great laws, has made it more affordable for people to have access to that type of care, but it is out of reach for a lot of people within a lot of communities. So when it comes down to infertility, our process was challenging. It was challenging. And the key thing when you're dealing with infertility, of any type of infertility, is that it is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Going to the doctors and paying, $10, $15, $20, $30,000 for a process, and it's not a miracle. There's no miracles behind this. You got to work every single day. You got to keep up with the doctors. You got to watch what you're putting into your body. And then you also have to watch your mind, because the mind is a very powerful thing. So if you're down and out, if you're not in a safe space within your relationship, if you're not necessarily comfortable with what's going on in your life, or you're overly stressed, it's also not going to work. So for people who are experiencing infertility, I'm going to tell you, you are not alone under any circumstance. I speak a lot about women of color because I want to speak from our experience. And the fact is that, again, that 48% of women of color actually struggle to actually get pregnant. It's hard. It's so hard. And we have things like endometriosis, there's fibroids, there's PCOS, every single thing under the book we all get hit with. Okay. So what I say for women who are going through this process is that you are not by yourself. There's somebody who's probably next to you within your space that's going through the same thing. 1 in 4 women experience a miscarriage in their life, at least one. 1 in 4 women. And some women have had a miscarriage, don't even realize, because it happened so early before you even can realize that you had the miscarriage. So with those type of numbers, 48% of women of color and 1 in 4 having a miscarriage. So when you go through those experiences, it's not just you, it's happening all around you every single day. I know now when I go to events after I release my book, I get people who every single thing I go to, every time I'm outside, people see me, they pull me to the side. They're like, Dr. Glow, thank you so much for writing that book, because I'm going through this. This is my process. I'm going to read your book. This is what I'm experiencing. And the big thing about the book is that my book gives the perspective from the partner. So it also saves relationships, because people are able to understand that, yes, your body is failing you at this point, but you have somebody next to you who's also in it with you, who's experiencing that. Because you sit there and people say people don't survive. 50% of marriages don't make it through infertility. Literally. Is one of the hardest things. People think that money and jobs and all those things really cause a lot of issues, but not being able to create life is even worse. So again, you're not by yourself. Journal, talk about what you're feeling, be honest with yourself, be honest with those around you, be patient with those who don't understand. Because you're going to have those people who's like, well, you not have a baby yet, and those type of questions. To be honest with you, you know what? I'm going through these certain experiences. And also, don't allow people to dump their sad emotion on you within your space. One of the key things that I did, especially after we lost our son, was that I took time and space for us. And I was very clear with everyone else around us. I know that you guys are sad that we lost Laylan. I know that you're sad that we're having this experience. We know it. I don't need you to dump it on us every day. I don't need you to call us crying. I don't need you to show up with tears in your eyes. That's not what we need. What we need is safe spaces. We need spaces so we can process our emotions and our feelings, because we are actually the ones experiencing it. So sometimes we took time away from people. We took time away from people, and we didn't allow everybody to push their emotions on us. And because it's not fair.
Wow. I never looked at it that way. And people mean well, but you have to set the boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to set that boundary. So now let me take you into the future.
Okay.
If time was an illusion, your past, your present, your future could exist in the same timeline, and I could take you to the 100-year-old you. You're now sitting with your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. And if you could have a conversation with that wise woman who has led you to that point, what would you say to your future self based on how you've lived your life?
Wow. It's so funny because when I spend time in my yard, and I spend time out there, and I always talk about when I have grandchildren or children, and that my children will always be able to come here to this space and to exist within this world. Words that I would want to share at 100 years old is that live every day as every day is your most important day. Exist within moments and don't just let them just fade away. Because sometimes we just don't take time to exist within the moment. We're so worried about what's going to happen next, but enjoy life because life is a beautiful place. Even in the hard times, there's always that light on the other side. So I think that, definitely 100-year-old me would be out there with my 25 grandchildren and my 50 great grandchildren just running around. Everybody there, the biggest family reunion ever. Because I'm definitely going to have a party when I turn 100. It's going to be very fabulous. And I will tell them all, just live within the moment because every moment matters.
Absolutely beautiful way to end our interview. Is there anything else I should have asked you and didn't?
No, I think you asked great questions. I think I got, my whole life and passion out there.
Oh, awesome. I always throw that in case I miss something. No, this is beautiful. Welcome back, everybody. That was the amazing Dr. Gloria Pope sharing her perspective from the queer community, her journey with infertility. And now I have the pleasure of introducing my next speaker. Welcome, 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 J Love. This is so amazing to finally reconnect with you.
Yes, it is.
We met a few years ago through my book coaching workshops. And at the time, you weren't ready to birth your book. And now it looks like it's going to happen.
Yes.
Really excited to have you with us this morning to share a bit of your story. So the format is you will have the stage for 15 minutes. Tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us this morning. Then I will come in and we'll have a Q&A session very similar to what I did in the previous video. Okay?
Okay.
The
My
stage
name.
is yours, my sister. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is J Love. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I am 55 years old. I'm a cosmetologist, and I'm excited to start writing my first book. Let's see what else. I think that's it.
What is your story all about? Give us a little bit of a background of who you are.
Okay. So I am, like I said, a cosmetologist slash wardrobe stylist. I've always known that I wanted to be a hairstylist um, since I was about 13 years old. And so I've been in the hair industry now for about 30 years professionally. And so now I believe that I'm getting ready to switch over more so into the wardrobe styling, like total body image consulting. Uh, that's what I'm getting ready to start now. I'm a little nervous. This is not what I'm always used to doing.
Well, I'm going to have to help you and train you up. So because you're going to be doing a lot of podcast interviews with your upcoming book.
Okay,
So
take it.
I'll ask you more leading questions. So who is the woman behind this book? What is the title of the book? Are you a mother? Are you a wife? What is your background? How big is the family you came from?
So I am a mother. I had three children. I had two sons and a daughter. I had my youngest son to he passed away. He got murdered in California a year ago, and
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
I
that.
I didn't hear you.
I said, I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So and I come from a mother of three. She has two daughters and a son, and like I said, I was raised here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I never felt like I fit here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's like 2 hours from Nashville, an hour and 30 minutes from Atlanta. I always just felt out of place, like, you know, like I should be somewhere else, like in a bigger city doing bigger major things. And I've always been looked at like, who she thinks she is. And so it's so funny though that people that are here in Chattanooga that are from bigger cities, major cities, come here, and I just so happen to meet them or run into them or whatever, and they just say that I shouldn't be here in this city. They can tell that, I should be somewhere else. I totally agree. So just here recently, I just decided to take the jump, and I am going to move to Atlanta. And so I'm excited about that. I just took a job with this lady right outside of. She's in Georgia, and she um, just hired me to become her personal wardrobe stylist. So I'm
Oh,
excited. This,
wow.
this is my first big gig. I mean, it's pretty big. Yeah, so this is my first of many. So I'm excited about that. She's already let me know that there are going to be, a lot of people asking me to become their wardrobe stylist. So I'm excited about that. Um, yeah, and I'm very passionate about uh what is the word I'm looking for? Transformation. So I thank God that I have the gift to look at a style a client, and I can dress them from head to toe, for his hair, makeup, wardrobe, everything. It takes me maybe not even 5 minutes. So I thank God for that. That I've always been, graced, talented, anointed, if I want to use that word, to for that. So it comes very easy to me. So I was on online last night just shopping for my first client, and I was up to like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because this is like a hobby for me. It comes so easy, so I'm so excited. So I'm up late, early in the morning. So I'm I'm excited. And as a matter of fact,
Wow.
when I got this phone call from my first big client, she says, um, I am going to bless you with a X amount of money um, to get up and running, doing what you need to do as far as getting this started. Uh, and that's all I can say right now. But my life has totally changed. I mean, knowing the life that I knew before is no more. I'm so excited.
I love this. The reason why I ask people to say their age when I do these interviews is because I
Uh-huh.
I focus on women over the age of 50, women who are
Okay.
reinventing their lives, are starting a new
Mhm.
phase of their lives, are nearing retirement. That's where I get
Okay.
my biggest joy, is when I can help
Mhm.
women transition from where they are to where they want to be. And it sounds to me like you knew where you wanted to be, you had that focus, and for a while
Mhm.
you had to stay where you were, but now you're ready to take that leap of faith and go to a bigger
Yes.
city and live a bigger life. That is
Mhm.
very, very inspiring. So
Yes, it is.
if there was
Mhm.
if there was somebody who's listening to this interview who's in the same place, knows they're
Mhm.
not in where they're supposed to be, know they should be somewhere else, they just don't know how to get there. What
Mhm.
3 nuggets of wisdom would you give them? Like, how, for instance, did you find this new client, or how did the client find you?
So this client found me from my friend, and we've been friends for 35 years. So actually, I was with my friend at this time, and I had asked this particular lady to pray with me because I was teeter tottering on my next move, changing careers and relocating. So she prayed for me. This was 4 months ago. She prayed for me, and it was real powerful prayer. And like I said, 4 months later, she's my client. she's my first big client as far with me wardrobe styling her. And she lives in Georgia. So I had already said when I get ready to take the jump, it would be going to Atlanta, Georgia. So, I already have a place there that I've located to move to. And so I would have the money, I would have everything I need. It's nothing to hinder me now as far as taking that big step. I have transportation. I just pick out where I want to live when it's that time for me to head in that direction. And I mean, this huge door, I can't go into details of it right now, but this opportunity that I have right now is huge. It's huge. This is a huge door that leads me to other things that I already am passionate and gifted and always known that I was supposed to do. So I'm just blessed, and I thank God for that. So, but if I can say this, like I said, I've been a cosmetologist for 30 years. So I have not been that stable hairstylist, cosmetologist, whatever you want to call it. Then it's coming on screen. I apologize. So actually I should have been out of this city years ago. I've had prophets and prophetess to say to me that my brook is dried up. Why am I here? You don't even look like you belong in this city. Why, you just it's insanity to be here when you keep saying the same old thing. And you're not what did it say about the prophet not being received or welcome in his own city, town, or
Yes.
whatever? So yeah, I've had that said to me so many times, and just going through that for years and just scared to take the jump. I just say, when you know in your heart that you are supposed to be somewhere else, just do it. God will see you through. He will make sure that your steps are ordered. He will gird you. He will gird you. He will see that you get to your destination. He will see that you make contact with the people that you contact with. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to introduce you to my friends in Atlanta. One of my best friends, he used to be the producer of the New Orleans Jazz Festival. So he works with musicians, very, very famous musicians from all over the US. He is running what is now called New Black Wall Street. And it's an amazing shopping complex that is focused on African American businesses. So I'm really glad that you're making this move. Now it looks like your video has switched off. You might want to switch your video on and off.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Let me see. Let me see.
Yeah, something happened there.
Okay. Hello. Okay.
There we go. You're back.
Now.
You're back. That's awesome. So I will give you the contact details of my dear friend. His name is Buddy Murphy. If you give me your cell phone number or your WhatsApp number on Facebook, I'll do a WhatsApp introduction. He will definitely introduce you to people. Just tell him
Oh,
you're a
that
good friend of mine. You're moving to Atlanta. You want to connect with people in the film industry because, Atlanta is big now because of Tyler Perry
yes,
Studios.
yes.
So you're definitely making a move in the right direction. I'm excited. I'm really excited about
Thank
this
you.
because I know that you might end up being my link to Tyler Perry because he's one person I'm dying to meet. I actually want him to produce my feature film.
Okay.
So you and I need to keep talking. We need to keep talking. There's a reason why you're going to Atlanta. I know that.
Yes, yes, yes. And so
Oh,
you
wow.
and so you remember where I was in 2018. You remember how my life was
Yes.
in 2018. Yeah.
So just refresh our listeners again to that story because it's been a while
Mm-hmm.
and people who are listening to this video didn't listen to the first one.
Okay,
So
so
just refresh the story.
yeah, so I give it a snippet of that. So I had gone through a divorce, and so it was very challenging for me. And so I thought, starting all over, being single, having one income, um, that was, like I say, was very challenging. And so at one time I was, homeless, sleeping in my car, and this was like I say, this was 2018, and uh, you know, 2018, 2020, one of those, round in there somewhere, 2020. And so I ended up, I lost everything I had, and I even lost the car. I even lost the car that I was sleeping in. I mean, I can laugh about it now. But like I said, it was around 2020. And so this is 2022, right? Yeah. So I have a real nice Lexus. It's a IS 250. I have my own nice apartment. I live in the nice area of Chattanooga. And so God has blessed me to almost drive anything I want to drive and live wherever I want to live. So that's so like God to do that. And this just came. I just got this news last Wednesday. So
Wow.
my life has changed since last Wednesday. Yeah. I have a
That's
I have a brand new business, fully furnished, whatever, a new place to live. Like I said, if I want to switch a car, I can do that. Yeah, for the most part, I can. My life is totally different.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. Very, very inspiring. I feel really honored that we've reconnected.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of women. I listen to a lot of women's stories. And when we first met, I knew there was something very special about you. The timing just wasn't right. You were right in the middle of the storm then. And
Yes.
now you look back a few years later, and this is where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and your life is just going on the up and up now. It's
Yes.
a good reminder to anybody else who's listening to the story that when you feel like you've hit rock bottom in
Mm-hmm.
life, get excited because the only way from rock bottom is up.
That's it. That's
The
it.
only way from there is up, and life is cyclical. It has its ups and its downs, and its ups and its downs. And
Mm-hmm.
it's how do you manage to survive in those down moments that really matters. And then
Yes.
how to dust yourself off and get on with your life after everything has collapsed. I think that's another very important lesson here as well.
So
So carry on.
I was
You
about
still
to
there?
say, well, I stayed true to who I am and what I and my calling and what I'm to do here on this earth. So I know more about what I'm to do. Even um, I know I've learned even more of my calling, or whatever you call it, what I'm to do here and to bless other people. Uh, while I'm here. And so I'm
That's fantastic.
passionate about. I love people. I love listening to people, talking to people, meeting new people, make people feel good, making people look good. Yeah, I do. So everybody is important. Yeah,
So is there
everybody is
any other
important. And
question?
hmm?
Is there any other question I should have asked you and I didn't in this interview? What are your parting
Well, I know
thoughts?
I'm so I know I'm so everywhere in this. I'm nervous, and like I said, this is what my second time doing this, so I'm gonna say no. You asked me everything. I think the questions were perfect. And how did you think I
I
did?
love
How did
it.
I do?
You did amazingly well. It's just such an honor to be reconnected with you. And like I said, I'm excited to see what the future has in store for you. I know that my friends in Atlanta will take care of you. This is a dear friend that I met almost 21 years ago when I first came to America.
Okay.
And one of those beautiful souls
Mm-hmm.
on this planet who protected me, guided me, extended his network of business associates and friends. And that's the spirit that he has. So I'm looking forward to making this introduction and seeing the magic that can be created from here. So, J Love, it looks like you've again. I'm not sure what's happening to your connection. Are you there? You can't hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, so it looks like she's lost the sound. Say something. Let's see, say something. I'm going to move on to my next video. Say something out loud, Jay. Okay, definitely, I can't hear you. So your audio is gone. Something's happened to your settings. But thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us today. I'm glad we were able to hear you, so you can't hear me. Very, very strange. Let's see if I can get the audio coming in through Facebook. All right, if she doesn't pick up, I think I might just move on to our next speaker. Doesn't look like this is going to work. Okay. J-Love, thank you for being here. I will move on to our next video and I will be in touch with you on Friday so we can finalize having your participation in the online summit. Hello, can you hear me now?
Hello.
Okay, so something happened to your sound.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
No, but thank you for coming. I'm going to move on to my next video and I'll be in touch with you on Friday, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Give me your cell phone number on Facebook so I can connect you with my friend on WhatsApp in Atlanta.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. God bless you. And So yes, for my payment on Friday, and then what else I was gonna say? So I make sure I have that. That you still need my bio and
I feel blessed to be a guest on HerStory. Thank you so much, Gertrude. And once invited, I really had to look at my own story and the stories I've chosen and how that's played out for me and how it applies even now. So I thought it would be very apropos to share about the elephant that's been in my living room. And it was always one thing: public speaking. I've been known to be quite courageous in many arenas in my life. I am a very strong, passionate, independent woman who's learned the value of deep, committed partnerships. I've also been strong in my ability to create and attract what I want for myself. I've been fearless in business and taken major risks. But I have had one pervasive, deep-seated fear that has kept coming up for me. And it really forced me to have to look closely and figure it out. Why was this in my story? Why has this been such a dreaded, sometimes even paralyzing fear for me? And the second question comes right after it: why does this keep coming after me? Because I'm an adult, I get to choose. Why is this constantly rearing its ugly head? I'll get back to that one. So when I thought about it, in my deep assessment, I decided it was all my mother's fault. And my unlikely hero's journey starts with a 4-year-old girl who was as adorable as 4-year-olds always are. And, but was very shy, very intuitive, an observer of people, smart. Obviously, this was my assessment, but good natured but not a performer at heart. In fact, I danced, I played instruments. There were a lot of things I loved to do, but I just didn't need the crowd. I jumped horses. I mean, a lot of things I did, but I really liked the loner stuff more. So I guess that's just how I'm made up. But I'll tell you how it all started for me. And again, I go back to, it's my mother. It was a wedding. It was a major production. It was in a massive cathedral. It was a Roman Catholic mass for my cousin Sandra. I remember she had, I think she had 8 bridesmaids and 8 groomsmen were there, and both had huge families on both sides, and all their friends were in attendance, and it was just a full house. And it was decided that I would be a flower girl with my cousin Sherry, who is senior to me by about 4 days, I think. And our job was that we were going to walk up the aisle sprinkling flower petals for my cousin, the bride, to walk through on her life-changing approach to the altar. So the scene is set and the music was playing, the organist was playing, and then suddenly the music stopped and the priest walked out to the landing and he made some kind of announcement. And at that moment, the entire room stood up and turned around to look down this long aisle at these 2 darling girls, and I froze. I mean, I was like a deer caught in headlights. I reached for the side of the pew and I just refused to move. And I remember holding my breath, and the air was so still. And Sherry, my traitorous 4-year-old cousin, she just bounced up the aisle without me in perfect harmony with the music. And I didn't. I just felt paralyzed. And then my mom, who I promise you was a really wonderful mother, and we were very close to the day she died. But at that moment, she came up to me and she pinched me under my arm and she said, "You will move. You can embarrass yourself, but you will not embarrass me. And I don't remember anything after that. It's a complete blank. The day is just gone from my memory. I don't know if I actually walked up the aisle. I don't know if I don't know if I cried. I don't know what happened, because it was that traumatizing to me, is that I just kind of blocked that from my memory. And my dread of public appearances just didn't end there. My parents, they divorced when I was very young. I was about 3, and they were both very successful entrepreneurs in their own right. And they managed to create interesting and profitable businesses, and they loved their work, and they were very high profile in their chosen professions. And so my experience of the spotlight, it had begun. It continued throughout my childhood. For instance, my mom, she was a couturier, and she produced events, and she took major designers' lines around the world. And with me in tow, I would be pushed out onto the runway for some designer who created a final children's look and just needed a little girl with a long ponytail to set off their look. So, there were photo shoots and runways and modeling jobs and, lights flashing. And I just hated all of it. I just didn't enjoy the cameras and the tension. I just didn't like it. So all the while, all I wanted was the safety of quiet. I loved to read. I loved art and coloring books, and give me a set of Legos and Lincoln Logs, and I could play for hours by myself in the room on the floor, building elaborate, cities and towns. And, I really was very, very good at entertaining myself. And once I got old enough that I could refuse participation gracefully in these public spectacles, I was off the hook and I was happy. And in my mind, it was over. So I set my sight on running things. I like to create things. I like to run them. And I love helping other people get into the limelight. I was determined that I would call the shots, and I would assign the tasks, and I would not be in spotlight. And now let's talk about the universe. She is a fabulous one, the great sacred unknown. And it's got, a great sense of humor. That's all I can tell you. And I can tell you this, there's no straight line to success. It's got a lot of great, wonderful side streets that you just can't help to go down and check out the view. And it seemed that destiny just kept putting me to the test, because every street I took, every road I took, every job I accepted, every project I expected, every business I created, every time it ended up being my responsibility to deliver the message. Whether it was an event or a launch or a strategic alliance or a charity event, it always required that I had to do some time on the stage. And I've had the opportunity to speak on some major stages and at several worldwide events. And though it's always turned out well and it's been a good experience, I can tell you quite honestly that my anxiety ran insanely high. And I still just have to do it. But I can't tell you that it's always comfortable. And even now in my current work, it is not lost on me that I have joined forces with Speakertunity, which provides speakers and authors and coaches and leaders and entrepreneurs with all the direct access and resources and tools and support to get booked on stages all over North America. Yes, I love helping speakers find and land more stages. Yet once again, here I am, back on a stage. So do you think I've conquered it? My fear of public speaking? No, not 100%. Sometimes I've wrestled it to the ground, and sometimes it's wrestled me. But I think I've managed to shrink its looming presence and paralysis, at least to the point that it doesn't stop me. I just think like Nike, just do it. My logic tells me there are bigger things to accomplish in this moment. My fear tells me I may not be comfortable with it, but it's like Nike, just do it anyway. But my soul tells me it's going to be okay, no matter what. Just show up, be myself, and those that this message resonates with will get it. And I'll have to forget the rest. And if I fail in that, I forget maybe a portion of it, or most critical, I forget a name or a fact. Oh, well, there you go. Let my perfectionist scream from the rafters, but I'm still standing. I showed up. And in the end, just gets down to a decision. Is the benefit going to outweigh the risk of exposure or failure or the pain of the dread prior to the event? It always does. So if any of you are minimally or excruciatingly afraid of public speaking, here are my best tricks and tools of the trade that I've used to help me manage my fears. So the first one I'd say is, and it's a big one, it's not about me. If it just stays in the front of my mind that it's really not about me, and it never was, it's just about sharing good information. And the second one is I keep my intentions right beside me. I speak, even though I'm not immediately in my comfort zone, I keep in the top of my mind that I'm here to give, whether it's information or experience or an opportunity. I'm here just sharing. I just need to get nervous out of the way. And be authentic. If you're real, people will feel it and you will resonate with them every time. And the audience really is ultimately for you. They aren't listening, hoping that you're going to, make a mistake or fall on your face. In fact, most of them are appreciative that it's not them and it's that you're up there. And if you make them feel comfortable, that's an amazing shared experience. But sometimes even better when you make a mistake and you laugh about it, and then everyone else gets to laugh. And there is no better bonding experience than when you crack up and the room is with you. I'll tell you my mantra that I use every morning before I do anything, but most especially before I walk out on a stage. I say to myself, the universe is conspiring in my favor. I don't have all my answers all the time, but the universe does. And if I continue to be offered these opportunities to speak, then there's a reason that may be way beyond my willies. Oh my gosh, what if I forget the names or my seventh item in my talking points or the host's name? God forbid, what if? Well, it's just stuff. Like the headlines of a newspaper. Today's news is tomorrow's birdcage linings. Keep it in perspective. This moment too shall pass. You'll survive, just hold on and keep your sense of humor. And ultimately, you're just not that important. It's your message. It's what you've come to give them. I love Maya Angelou's perspective. She said, they'll forget about what you said, but they'll never forget about the way you made them feel. Just share your story from your heart and it will land with who it's supposed to. So now, for us introverts and newbies, if public speaking is really so painful, why do it? What possible value could offset the misery of having to face that fear? Well, if you have a business or a book or a message that you feel that you know is yours to give, then there's nothing like public speaking to make it happen. It will catapult you in a way like no other modality will. It's proven. Nothing will ramp up your business, your authority, your revenue faster than getting on stage. It's that unique opportunity for you to let people in your audience feel you and get their own sense of you before they book a call with you. And it just builds the know, like, and trust factor exponentially. And today you can do it in so many ways. There's so many stages and platforms, and they're just waiting for you. At Speakertunity, we offer 130,000 stages on every platform and market, just waiting for you, whether you want live or virtual events, radio shows, podcasts, TEDx events, networking groups. I mean, the world is waiting for speakers who want to speak. So you can stick your toe in the water and get comfortable by getting into networking groups and breakout rooms. Those are wonderful because it's just a small group and it feels very personal. And local break rooms are wonderful and very forgiving. You can get on a summit and give a 30-minute presentation that you've recorded instead of doing it live until you're ready to go live. And you might find that you love live. You can get with wonderful supportive hosts like Gertrude, who will create a warm and supportive atmosphere so you can have more intimate stage experience, just like this one. And the gift of Zoom, it cannot be underestimated. It allows you to touch so many people and then invite them into your room to have a more in-depth conversation. Think about it. This catastrophic pandemic has been a huge global challenge and devastating in many ways, but there's always a rainbow after the storm. And this pandemic has brought us together in ways that nothing else could have. And Zoom is one of the most incredible vehicles and opportunities that is such a gift, and we need it now more than ever. There's a lot of work to do at this time, and so many brilliant people are coming up with fabulous strategies and connective opportunities so we can talk together and work on it all together. And visibility is essential and easier to get now than it's ever been. I'll be doing a workshop next month about visibility with Gertrude, and I'm really excited to share all the ways you can get yourself out there and be heard. And I'll be bringing gifts with me, so be sure to stop by. So all it takes is a little public speaking. So I ask you, if not now, when? I want to thank you, Gertrude, from the bottom of my heart. It's been a privilege to be part of HerStory. I'm really glad I got to tell you mine. And to all the aspiring speakers out there, I look forward to seeing you on your next stage. Thank you, everyone.
What an amazing end to our day today. An introvert sharing her story and the importance of speaking, why you should step up and share your story. So Kelly, thank you again for gracing us with your presence. And thank you to everybody who came online today to share your stories. The HerStory movement is about changing lives, one woman at a time, one story at a time. And we're going to end today with the music we started off in the morning, which is a beautiful piece of music sung by a tremendous group of women who have started a movement to advocate against the war in Syria. So I'm going to see if this is going to play again. Bear with me. Today I have been very, very challenged with all of these videos. If it doesn't come up here, I will try and find it on LinkedIn instead. On YouTube. It looks like I'm going to have to grab the video from YouTube. Technology is great when it works. It's terrible when it doesn't. But we have to just keep going and finding ways that we can make things happen. So this song is called War is Not a Woman's Game. So if you are a woman who has a passion to see the end of this war, this movement is asking all of us to stand up, to get a group of friends to sing this song and be in solidarity with the women who are living in countries where they are marginalized, where they are victims of war. And when we start saying no, we can change the world. So thank you so much, ladies, for sharing this song.
This is a call to all our sisters, the women of the world, to take part in the creation of a new video clip. War is not a escape. For too many years, we have collaborated with the patriarchal narrative, believing that art is impossible to save. For too long, we have been stripped of our liberty by the story of separation. This is not our language. It is not our way. War is not a woman's game. It is time for the different life to protect. Women of Ukraine, you are not alone. Women of Russia, you are not alone. Women of Palestine, you are not alone. Women of Syria, you are not alone. Women of Israel, USA, Africa, India, Asia, Europe, Australia, North America, South America, North Korea, South Korea, China, Tibet, Afghanistan. You are not alone. Girls, young women, old women, witches, businesswomen, caretakers, parents, mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, men, trans, fluid. Let's show the world we're here. Let us start the song with the statement for the prayer. I want to take part in the creation of this international ceremony given by semi-videos of Lucy in this song. Celebrating femininity, stepping into your power. If you feel this calling inside you, please write it in the comments and then send more instructions. It's what? War is not woman's game. And it's time to sing. Come on. Yeah.
Everybody, see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye for now.